this series of moves, this series of very dumb moves, I would argue, I'll tell you this, it's going to cost Democrats come November, because when it comes to the economy and when it comes to politics, the American people have kind of had it. And effectively what they have just done, both on the inflation front and on the political front with this raid of a former president's home, it will push the needle, so to speak, for the Republicans, for the GOP, because this plays into every insecurity people have already about their government. So watch out. It's going to be really, really bad, I think, for Democrats come November. It would take a lot to have to shift this. Welcome to the program, everyone. So great to have you here. I am Trish. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, the full audio version of the podcast on Apple, iTunes, or on Spotify, I'm there every single day with you. All of the shows are free, so it's really important that you just subscribe and you tell your friends, because the more people that subscribe, the more the word gets out. Then Apple knows to show other people the podcast, so to speak. Also, do me the favor of subscribing to this channel if you're watching on YouTube or on Rumble. Portions of today's program are brought to you by Legacy Precious Metals. There's never been a better time to invest in precious metals like gold or silver than right now. So go to legacypminvestments.com for more. Again, it's legacypminvestments.com. We'll talk a little bit more about that coming up. But before we do, I mean, wow. Again, poor choices on the political front. And now Donald Trump, he's using it for all it's worth. He's talking about running again. There's speculation that he may announce that he's running in 2024 early. Meanwhile, it's kind of a layup come November. At this point, the president is now saying that, in fact, Biden knew. Remember, Joe Biden saying, I had no idea. The White House is saying, we learned about this raid of Mar-a-Lago from the media reports. It's really important that the Democrats make that distinction, right? Because if it looks as though it was political, if it looks as though Joe Biden wanted to stick it to President Trump, if it looks like the Democrats are trying to take him out for 2024, then that heightens everyone's insecurities about Joe Biden, big government, deep state, all that kind of stuff. So it's critical that they distance themselves from this. Simultaneously, the GOP is saying, okay, well, we're gonna take it for all it's worth. And Trump, who has very astute political instincts, is doing exactly what an astute political player would do. And he's saying, you know what? It's a conspiracy. They're going after me. And I think a lot of Americans figure, hey, if they could go after him, who's to say they wouldn't go after me? It all comes, as I pointed out yesterday, at a delicate time when they're looking at adding $80 billion to hire, 80,000 new IRS agents? I mean, come on, guys. While you just gave a big tax break, you continue to write that into the tax code for the highest paid executives, private equity executives in this country. I mean, it just doesn't fly or pass, so to speak, the smell test, right? So the Democrats, they are now in a weaker position as a result of this entire ordeal. You couple that with the economy, which continues to be challenged. JP Morgan, very big investment bank, now out with a report saying that this Inflation Reduction Act, I love that. It's like they really have no respect for us. They think we're really, really dumb because somehow you just print more money and give it out, and that's going to reduce inflation. Anyway, JP Morgan is saying that this isn't going to affect inflation. I'll go even further and say not only is it not going to affect inflation, it's actually going to make the inflation situation far worse, because you're going to have more money circulating in the economy at a time when you're trying to actually pull back, right? That's the idea. That's the intended idea behind the higher interest rates from the Federal Reserve. And I still think that as I go to air right now, we're going to get that report in a short bit on inflation. Even if it comes lower than 9.1%, the reality is this: we are dealing with inflation, and we're going to continue to deal with this for the foreseeable future. And government continues to be in the way, including with this $700 billion and change, quote unquote, Inflation Reduction Act, which is just an inflationary stimulus act. Anyway, you combine all these things together and it's setting them up for failure in a pretty big way. But importantly for you, and this is what matters, you don't want yourself to be set up for that kind of failure. You don't want your family economically to be set up for that kind of failure. And it's one of the reasons why I say diversify your holdings, diversify your retirement holdings, your savings, and make sure when you do that diversification, you're looking at something like gold. I'm personally a believer that gold is one of the things that helps to even out some of those fluctuations in your portfolio. The volatility in the markets is certainly hard to stomach. And so having diversified holdings, including gold, can help smooth some of that out. The other thing that gold does for you is it helps to protect the value of your portfolio over time, which is why one of the reasons, or it is one of the reasons I should say, why people look to things like gold-backed IRAs, because they want to make sure that the IRA is worth as much in the future as it is today. And so you don't only just try and capture the upside in the market, but you try and ensure that there's some consistency in terms of your buying power, right? With the money that you've been saving. The company that does this so well is Legacy Precious Metals. You've heard me talk about them before. Wonderful sponsor of this program. Go and check them out. Legacy Precious Metals. They can help you navigate this pretty challenging space. You can give them a ring at 1-866-589-0560, 1-866-589-0560, or go and download their full investing guide. They're free at legacypminvestments.com. Again, legacypminvestments.com. But yes, for sure, we're going to have these economic challenges, I think, for months, if not years to come, all while the political environment grows increasingly risky. And even just talking about this, it's so interesting how there's an effort to really suppress the other side, right? Like people can't help but question these institutions, including the media, which is trying to force feed a narrative that a lot of people just don't like. So now Donald Trump is capitalizing on that, calling this a coordinated attack. And he's saying that Biden knew, quote, just like he knew all about Hunter's deals. And he's, of course, referencing some of the lucrative financial engagements that Hunter Biden had, which have come under scrutiny, of course, because people question whether it was really because he deserved those positions or whether it was because of the political clout of his father. He said, and I quote, "A horrible thing that took place yesterday at Mar-a-Lago. We are no better than a third world country, a banana republic." It's actually funny. I myself said that just, in fact, yesterday on the podcast, which was entitled Banana Republic. I mean, this is unprecedented and it feels super Latin American-esque, right? Like go down to Venezuela or go down to Brazil or Argentina, all these Colombia, all these questions that have these really checkered histories in terms of their political turbulence. That's how it feels we are becoming, all while simultaneously, like I said, this one narrative that is being spoon-fed to us, and it's like state media. It's like they just want you to hear this and only this. And I think people are craving more diversity in the viewpoints. The idea that you can't say it's a recession when, I'm sorry, like every economics textbook that I've ever read, and I've taken a lot of economics courses, has said 2 quarters of decline in GDP for a 6-month period. That's a recession. Now, you can debate how big it is or whether it's going to get bigger. You can debate how odd it is given that the jobs market has been so buoyant. But nonetheless, I mean, it is the technical definition of recession. But this is the world in which we live, where down is up and black is white, and you know the word of the day is whatever the quote unquote elites want you to think it should be. And this is why it's permeating all parts of our lives, whether it's me talking about the economy or whether it's you just trying to watch a movie, right? I mean, the social impact, I think, of all of this is significant as well, which is why I want to give a shout out for a new movie that's with Kirk Cameron. Remember Kirk Cameron from Growing Pains? Great show that I used to watch as a kid. Anyway, this is a brand new movie out, and I know you're always looking for things to entertain you. Well, in this case, this is called Life Mark. It's a new movie from the Kendrick brothers and Kirk Cameron. It's opening in theaters everywhere on September 9th. And in this movie, again called Life Mark, it's telling the story of a young man who had a really comfortable world, which gets suddenly turned upside down when his birth mother unexpectedly reaches out to him, longing to meet him, her 18-year-old son that she only got to hold once. And so he gets the encouragement of his adopted parents and consequently embarks on a life-altering journey of discovery that leads to a staggering truth from his past. It's inspired by a true story. And this movie, Life Mark, it's really powerful. It's a powerful reminder that one decision has such an impact on the world, right? So many people and the world as we know it. It's a pro-family movie. It's a pro-love. It's a pro-forgiveness, pro-reconciliation, and pro-new beginnings kind of movie. So I encourage you to go and check it out. You should see this. Again, it's called Life Mark. So it's playing in theaters nationwide beginning September 9th. You can get tickets, actually. You can get tickets right now by going to lifemarkmovie.com. Again, that's lifemarkmovie.com. I think it's important as individuals to stand up for what we believe in. And you can do that in very little ways, like what you choose to consume on the entertainment front even, or what you choose to consume on the news front. Go out there and seek those alternative sources. I commend you for listening to this show because you will not hear the status quo here. You're just going to hear truth. I think I'm just too darn transparent. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think every single time. And as a journalist with a lot of years of training and reporting under her belt, I'm convinced that we need to always be asking questions. And sometimes the truth is not easy to find, but it's up to us to keep looking for it and to keep demanding it in new and different ways. So I thank you for being here. I appreciate all your support. I really have so much gratitude for that. But do me the favor of making sure that you subscribe. And if you could just get one of your friends as well to subscribe to the podcast, it helps. It helps for Apple to know you're watching, your friends are watching, listening, and it gets the word out there. So it's going to be a tricky time. I'm not kidding. Very, very tricky time, but I love my independence. You, I suspect, love your independence too. So do me the favor of subscribing, downloading, and keep listening. I'm here every single day. I will see you tomorrow.